Okay, so in this video, we are going to pin this year's iPad versus last year's iPad. So it's going to be an iPad 9th generation versus iPad 8th generation. Let's go ahead and jump into this. Now, starting off with a quick price breakdown here, this year's iPad, the iPad 9, is going to run you $330, just like it was the case last year when the iPad 8 came out last year. It was $330. The interesting thing here is that if you were to try to purchase an iPad 8 this year, you actually can't find it that easily. Many places don't seem to have them in stock, and the ones that do have them in stock are selling it also at the same price as the current iPad, so $330 or even higher in some cases for refurbished units on Amazon for some reason. I don't even know why that is. And for that reason, along with many other reasons, the obvious choice is just the iPad 9. Let me just tell you that before we continue the video. Just go out there and buy the iPad 9. Unless there is an unless, go buy the iPad 8. Well, we're going to cover that in just a moment. Meanwhile, let's jump on design here. This is nothing new, and I really mean it. Like, there's nothing new here. It's the same 10.2 inches display on either model. They are both IPS displays tagged as Retina IPS display, and I truly mean it is literally the same display, the same non-laminated display, meaning yeah, the air gap is still very much present. The same resolution at 2160 by 1620, the same brightness level at up to 500 nits, although I should add that this time around we actually do have True Tone display on the iPad 9, which is more of a feature rather than an actual, hardware or display difference compared to the iPad 8, but it's still a major upgrade. It's one of the major upgrades that you will have on the iPad 9. The fact that it adapts automatically and adjusts automatically actually goes pretty easy on your eyes, apparently. Both tablets come with a headphone jack, the same speakers located at the same spot at the bottom there, same Touch ID, thick bezels at the top and at the bottom of the tablet, same old Lightning port also. So you couldn't even make them apart even if you purposely try to differentiate which one is which, right? So, but anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the reason why the iPad 9 is the one you should go for. So I already gave you the price as the first reason, which is very important. The second one is True Tone, that True Tone feature. That is also very important. The third one here, and probably one of the most important reasons you should go for the iPad 9, is just the current platform it's running on, right? The iPad 8 was boasting, or is boasting, an 812 Bionic chip, so it's that same chip that you find on the iPhone 10, which is some pretty powerful stuff, right? It's coupled also with 3 gigs of RAM. Now, you also have that same 3 gigs of RAM on the iPad 9, except this time around you have an 813 Bionic chip, which is the same chipset you would find on the iPhone 11, so more powerful, obviously, an upgrade, and a tangible one for that matter. I would say it's a tangible upgrade despite having the same 4-core graphics and the fact that they are actually sharing the same processor setup. But then again, the 813 on the iPad 9 is, like I already said, more powerful, and that is reflected on just the performance itself. Specifically, when you take a look at heavy tasks, GPU performance is much better on the iPad 9, despite the fact that the CPU performance difference is not really that massive between the two. GPU for sure is way ahead of the iPad 8. Now, when it comes down to just day-to-day tasks, obviously they're going to fly through that stuff. They're pretty solid devices, right? Day-to-day tasks, light, medium tasks, you won't really notice the difference. Even loading most apps would just do so at the same speed. But once you hit heavier stuff like, larger games, loading much more heavy tasks or heavy apps, things that are graphic intensive, so things that really pull that GPU performance, that's when you're going to start noticing that palpable difference between the two. And by the way, if this is your first time visiting and you are enjoying the content so far, I truly appreciate that. Please do me a favor, hit both the like and the subscribe button there. Again, I truly appreciate that. But anyway, so the iPad 9 is just better. And the next major difference between the two tablets is the fact that the iPad 8 has 32 gigs of base internal storage, which is almost insane in today's standard, right? But Apple doesn't care. But anyway, so things are so large, files, are so large, videos are so heavy nowadays that 32 gigs, once you take out everything that the system is eating up, you're left with pretty much nothing. But anyway, so the iPad 9 is pushing 64 gigs of internal storage. So that's double what the iPad 8 was offering. That's one of the reasons I'm saying this is another very important upgrade on this, on the current line of iPads. And in case you want to go for even more storage, you can just go for the 256 gigs of internal storage, which is what is offered beyond just the 64 gigs for the iPad, for the current iPad. So pretty much double everything from last year. Because as I mentioned, last year you had 32 gigs of base internal storage. The next year was 128. This year you have 64, which is double of the base from last year, and the next year is 256 gigs, which is also double of last year's next year, which is pretty nice because it simply means that you're going to be able to store, a lot more stuff when compared to that to the iPad 8. The UI overall, of course, is just straightforward as usual, and either one of these two runs iPad OS 15. Looks pretty clean as always, of course, nice level of multitasking without much of a difference to the naked eye, and either one of the tablets would do a pretty decent job at editing videos, like I said, except the iPad 9 would render videos faster. The overall gaming experience is pretty nice also. Both tablets can handle fairly large games. Call of Duty, Asphalt 9, PUBG Mobile, all of that good stuff perform pretty well. Now, the next major upgrade here is going to be the camera, specifically that front-facing camera on the iPad 9. It is loaded with a 12 megapixel ultra wide integrated with center stage, and I've talked about, if you've watched any of my previous video on this tablet here, it's integrated with center stage, which of course, to those who don't know, is just that feature that automatically adjusts the camera to either pan wide or crop a little bit to make sure that everyone, all the subjects that it's filming during video calls, for example, to make sure that the subjects are in frame. That is a really neat feature, especially given today's dynamics, right? And I've tried it on this and on my iPad Pro and also on my Mini, and it works very well. And again, this is a major upgrade from the iPad 8 because the previous version, the iPad 8, had a 1.2 megapixel, I believe, pretty mediocre 1.2 megapixel camera as a selfie camera. Now, as far as the main camera goes, they each have an 8 megapixel camera on the back, so essentially the same camera on that back. They both support the Apple Pencil first generation, and yes, it's that same first generation Apple Pencil with that very weird way of charging. It still offers an overall good experience, for drawing, taking down notes. It offers pretty much the exact same user experience on either one of these tablets on that 60 Hertz display. And with all of that being said, let me go ahead and close with this. The only time you should go for the iPad 8, well, it's actually broken down in two parts. The first part is if you are just a stickler for color, for a specific color on the iPad itself. And in this case, I mean the rose gold specifically, because it's only available on the iPad 8. Or the second part is if you're just a stickler for white front bezels, right? So let's say you hate the black bezels found on the current iPad 9. You don't like that and you just want something with white bezels, like you want to pick up a silver variant that has the white bezel, then obviously you would have to go for the iPad 8. This is just my way of saying that the rose gold variant is no longer available on the iPad line. The same goes for the white bezels. You don't have that anymore, and the only way for you to get either one of those two things would be to buy an iPad 8. On the new generation here, you only have two variants, right? So space gray and silver, and the front bezel, of course, is all black like I mentioned, but I don't think that really bothers too many people. In fact, I know many people who prefer the black bezels. Maybe that's even the reason Apple is not offering one with white bezels. But anyway, on a more serious note, if you really want something rose gold, yeah, obviously you would go for the iPad 8 there, but you shouldn't be hesitating between the two, like at all. This should be the one that you want to go for, right? Just go ahead and buy this one. This is one of the iPads that's offering the best value that I've seen so far in terms of the upgrades that it's seen, along with keeping the same price as last year. So this is definitely a go for me. So if you are out there, if you're in the market for something like this, let's say you want to grab one of these during Black Friday or during the holiday season, I definitely recommend this guy to just the general population. It's a nice intro to the Apple ecosystem. But anyway, I'm certainly hoping that this was informative, and of course, if it is, I certainly appreciate you just hitting the like button, making sure that you're subscribed. I'm certainly already said that already. Make sure to hit that subscribe and share the video with anyone who'll be interested in this. Make sure to check out the other videos that I have. I make tons of videos on tablets. If you're looking for something in this price range, in this category, I'm pretty sure you'll find something among all of the videos that I've made so far. I'm going to catch you in the comment section. Make sure to comment. I'm also going to catch you in the next video. As always, of course, up until that next video, stay safe out there.